I'm going to reiterate, and I know, Spencer, you hit on it too. Part of the crazy thing during the Al Avila era is so many of these players were myths.
Oh, yeah.
They were. You heard the names, right? But they legitimately, they were myths because you never got a chance to see them. We never got a chance to. We heard all the names. I mean, I can rip off these names off the top of my head to this day. Well, do you remember Daz Cameron?
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna be your
Sergio Alcantara.
Right. You heard all these names. Kristen Stewart. You heard all these names, but then you never got a chance to see him. And then when you finally saw him, you're going, "Oh, cool. Is this what I was waiting for? Mm-hmm. Is this what I was supposed to wait for?" So, to me, if you get a guy like Trey Sweeney, and if what people are saying about this guy is true, that he is the most major league ready guy, gaping hole, highly thought of prospect, you wouldn't make a move for him unless you wanted him. Why don't we see him?
Look at this and think about this serviceability. Now let's just start looking up the middle. Right? Like looking up the middle. You brought up a name yesterday, Spenny, that you're happy in Dingler.
Yep.
Right? Who's up at catcher, stuff like this. So what, you got a catcher, you got your second baseman and signed to a 10-year deal in Cole Keith, and we've seen his evolution this year as he gets more comfortable. I mean, are you, God forbid, you're telling me that I could be seeing the next second base, shortstop, up the middle combo. You also got Riley Green in the outfield there, wherever you want to play him. It's starting to sort of maybe assemble. Now, these guys got to hit, but this kid's just got to be serviceable. And would you be willing to give him time to figure it out like you gave Cole Keith time? And what better time than now?
I would.
Right? What better time than now? Because you know what, the blessing, and I guess I'm going to say this, I'm not going to project anybody else. I'm going to say, as my Tiger fan, you know what I would like? I would like to go into the off season as a Tigers fan going, oh man, I think that I got my second base shortstop combo going in for the next 5-10 years like this. Like there is something there. Got work to do. What's that? To hit to all he has to do is hit what is his shortstop position providing right now?
Yeah.
210?
Yeah,
220, hit 240, 250, whatever like this, show some production like anything else. And then we'll worry about the power positions at the corner. But Spenny was onto it because I believe Dingler might be, or there's somebody else coming through that the prospect behind the plate. So slowly but surely might be coming together. So maybe that's what I asked for by the end of the rest of the season. Any of these young guys or the guys that we've heard these names, can I at least have this eyeball test to either know going into next season or not what we're dealing with?
Well, in Mac, you know this better than anybody because you're a big catcher guy. That was another part of the frustration. How many catchers of the future did this franchise have in the last 8 years?
Al Avila, James McCann, Jake Rogers. Yeah.
Catcher of the future. They were anointed, okay?
Yep.
And it didn't work. And look, Jake Rogers is a nice guy. Jake Rogers, the head, the flop and all that. I love the bit, okay? Jake Rogers isn't your everyday. This guy is a legitimate MLB guy. I would hope, as likable as the guy is, I would hope that each and every one of you out there would want more from that position than what Jake Rogers has brought to the table, right? And I think that's why seeing a guy like Dingler and okay, wow, I've heard about him. Maybe I saw him there, but now I get a chance to see it, and oh my goodness, now I get why there were multiple people out there that anointed this guy as the catcher of the future. Because I think that is part and parcel with what so many fans are frustrated at. They're tired of hearing about the promise of this guy and the promise of that guy. And it happens in every sport, Mac. There are guys that listen, I'll tell you point blank. Jakob Kindl.
Yeah.
I saw Jakob Kindl play when he was with the Rangers. Right? I had a conversation with a current general manager in the NHL. I bet you can figure out who. And he was like, what do you think? Because I saw him a bunch of times. I was like, he doesn't belong in this league right now. He doesn't belong in the OHL. He's that good. He doesn't belong in this league. And Mac, for whatever reason, it just never happened.
Damian Brunner.
So, I mean, you have to accept you have to accept, no matter how so many of these guys look, no matter how good so many of them look, it might not happen. Okay, so it's better to apply a little eye test to build some good faith going into the next season.
And I look at what Scott Harris is doing, and I have optimism going forward for the guys he picked up, because all of his draft picks, the majority of the guys that he brought in are all single A, double A now. Like, obviously the two big ones in Clark and McGonigal in high A. You've got Hao-Yu Lee in double A, absolutely ripping it up. The two bets in this lineup that were prospects that Scott Harris went out and got are Justin Henry Malloy and Wencel Perez. And these were guys that weren't these top prospects, these top super, thought of guys. He brought them in here. They have been MLB players. They have been supplemental bats in your lineup. So I have faith that he can identify guys to bring in here and be ready to hit in the MLB, while all of his big stars and the guys he wants to be your centerpieces, he got from high school, and they're going to take a couple years. But he can get supplementary bets for trading pieces at the deadline. That's why I have faith in these guys that he's bringing in that might be MLB ready pretty soon. Not to be superstars, not to be Mike Trout, not to be Aaron Judge, but to be MLB hitters, which is what we haven't had in a couple
Isn't it more, Sean, like at the end, if you want to use the comparison between baseball and hockey, like if Kenny Holland's signing free agents or bringing guys in as opposed to Steve Yzerman, use the same analogy, Al Avila to Scott Harris, to Spenny's point, is that I think to his credit, he can recognize talent, and maybe that next, who are the guys that are down there, like the two guys that he mentioned that are Major League Baseball players. So that gives me hope that we have something. And he is the right guy for the job. It's just right now, it's just about patience.
And we're at the point. It's funny you bring up Yzerman, because I was thinking about this last night. We're at the point where I know a lot of Tiger fans, raise my hand, you want to bring in a known. Okay, it would be great if you brought in a known, a guy that has been established. That wow, I can't believe that we picked up that guy. And that's further down the line. And you brought up Yzerman. That's what Steve Yzerman did last year. He brought in Patrick Kane. Like, unless you live in a cave, everybody knows who Patrick Kane is. Now, there was a lot of back and forth about what does he have left. He just came off this hip surgery, blah, 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 blah. But it didn't take long for anybody and everybody to figure out, okay, Patrick Kane has a lot of game left, okay? Patrick Kane is an explosive Hall of Famer to be, who all you have to do is watch him to see what people are talking about. And the Tigers aren't at that point yet, because I think, and this is what we're all getting at, we have been in a point where, whether we want to admit it or not, many people in this fan base have put less thans on a pedestal because we haven't had much to be excited about. Whether it be Jake Rogers, whether it be Akil Baddoo, doesn't matter. We've kind of put these guys on pedestals that they don't necessarily belong, because we haven't had,
because our want is so great, because we've been starved.
Yep. And to your point earlier, I'm glad that you and Mac, last year, you know what happened last year? Tarek Skubal turned into a stud before our very eyes.
Yeah.
And nobody was paying attention.
I got a jersey.
I was, you were, I was, a lot of you were, but you know what happens? People check out. The Lions start. Michigan football start. Everybody knew that Michigan had a really good season. Who knew it was going to turn into what it eventually turned into? Same thing with the Lions. Okay, realistic expectations with this football team. And my gosh, the Lions not only met them, but in my mind surpassed them. So what happens is, when you're very close to apathy, people check out. They do. And I don't think the average fan out there realizes that Tarek Skubal turned into a stud. Forget this year. It was last year, because they checked out, like you brought up earlier. They were, I want to see what's going on at training camp.
You know what? Here's the irony. Grant, what's today? July 31st, 2024. July 31st, 2026. we're going to be sitting here going, oh my God, I wish I would have got sleep for the past 2 years because I got to go from this season to that season. Because you remember what it's like when the Tigers are humming during the summer. Can you imagine the Tigers humming into the Lions training camp, into the Red Wings or whatever? So that's what I'm telling everybody, because that's what the writing on the wall is, slowly but surely, because you have these teams that are trying to do it the correct way. Now in the NFL, we always said it can go faster when it's done right, and we're watching it right before our eyes in every facet. So I think that more so it's all about, all I hear is, no matter what we're talking about, is can they identify talent? I think 3 of the leaders in this town have proven that, and the rest, the other one with the Pistons is wait to be seen.